You can do this, Jamie.
Oh yeah, I've got it here. All right, here we go.
This is not a normal presentation for those who are tuning in, because we try to get 2 hours out of it. I did not plan for this to take 2 hours. If it does, it does. I don't think it will. It is a somewhat brief presentation on the technical subcommittee was asked by the PAC to come up with suggestions. These are not rules. I want to make that clear out of the get-go. This is not from the state of Ohio rule. These are just, it's we call them guidance or suggestions. A lot of the stuff at this point is going to sound familiar to you as far as the social distancing, things like that. And I may, throughout the presentation, remind you that this is not a rule. So at the end of this is when it could become, we could stretch it into 2 hours possibly. If you guys have any comments, if you have any suggestions as to what your agencies are doing specifically, any good ideas, things like that, we're not, and I don't predict it will. You guys have all seemed pretty good, downright great throughout this. But, we're not going to attack the CDC or the ODH or anything like that. We're all in this together, and this is just, again, like the helpful hints. So, Jamie, do I have?
Yeah, Kevin, you're the co-host, so you're ready to go.
All right, I should have brought that rascal up to begin with. All right.
I can see it.
All right. Let's see, one more. I do have a couple brief videos that I will have to snag, and there it is, that I'll have to snag off from. Well, I have it opened up, but I'll have to kind of snag it, and hopefully those will go pretty good. So again, the technical subcommittee for the PAC was asked to come up with some guidance. So that's what this is drawn from. I can't remember. There's like a dozen people on the technical subcommittee, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, and they're from various agencies throughout the state. I attend, and how I've taken the role when I attend these meetings is I just try to sit back and listen, and I chime in as far as what we can and can't do as a training provider. But as far as what they do in the field, they know it better than any of us, or me anyway in that meeting. So I let them work that stuff out, and if it's something that I feel we can train that we're able to do, then they probably don't hear from me much. So let's see. So what, the COVID-19, we'll go ahead and get started. So what is COVID-19? It's a new strain of coronavirus that has not been previously identified in humans. It was first detected in Wuhan, China. There's a lot of I don't know about theories or suspicions. Was it done in a lab? Somebody eating wild bats? That'll probably, it may take some years to get to the bottom of it. But what we do know for a fact is that it did start in China, and it grew pretty quick. So coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that are known to cause illnesses from the common cold to more severe diseases such as SARS and MERS. You guys can Google those if you want. The symptoms of the COVID-19, they do, and this is this tends to be a moving target also. They added some new symptoms to the list a couple of weeks ago. And like it says, symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. A lot of this stuff I got from either ODH or CDC. I didn't go to any conspiracy sites or anything like that. So, so 2 to 14 days after exposure. So that's one of the problems with this. Vast majority of the people who have it don't know they have it either. So it hangs around. It can hang around a while. The symptoms: a cough, and they describe it as a dry cough, fever, headache, new loss of taste and smell, repeated shaking with chills, sore throat, shortness of breath, and muscle pain. And if you're watching anything on the news or you're seeing reports, it seems like it varies. Some people, like Tom Hanks, I believe he said, his symptoms were somewhat mild compared to others. I saw a thing, it was last night, that there are people who are having these symptoms for like a month. They've had them for weeks in some cases. Again, in many cases, carriers don't have any of these symptoms. So how do we protect ourselves? So we wash our hands often with soap and water for 20 seconds. Count to 20. I know when we were kids, or I was, and we taught to say your ABCs. That's one of the videos I've got on how to wash your hands properly. There's some pretty good demos. You've probably seen some of them on YouTube. Avoid close contact with others. That's why we're doing the Zoom stuff. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Now this is the difficult part. The Amy Acton, I'll just say ODH, and some folks at the federal level. Some of them are wearing gloves. I don't know if ODH is, but I saw a guy who gave testimony. He was one of their chief scientists, medical doctors. And when he was going into the building, he was wearing gloves, but once he got inside, he took them off. One of the concerns about wearing gloves is that people will become too complacent. I'm sure in the last 5 minutes, just since I've started this presentation, that I've probably touched my face a few times. It's something that most of the time we don't know we do. This is very similar to if you paid attention during your lead class, the one-day RRP class. It's very similar. The lead dust, and in this case, this COVID-19 on surfaces. If we wear a mask, rather a comfort mask like this one, their design, or not design, the reasoning is for, if I'm wearing this mask, it means I'm protecting you. You wear a mask, you're protecting me. The problem is, again, we get it on our hands, we go to our face with it, and going into the nose or eyes is a way of taking it into our bodies. So clean and disinfect frequently touched objects. That helps. Use a alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Stay home until you are free of fever or signs of fever, any other symptoms for at least 24 hours, and without use of a fever-reducing medication. We have a coworker here who has a child or a teenager who had a fever last week, and our director basically said, just stay home for a few days. Well, then we found out that he went and had a test done. So then our director said, well, just wait for the results of the test, which were negative. And if these symptoms do not go away, or if they get worse, then seek medical attention. And especially if you believe that you've been exposed. The higher risk population, some people are at a higher risk, and this is the usual cast of characters: seniors. They've, over years, their bodies have been through some things, smokers, COPD. It is a respiratory issue, so again, it's usually seniors, but they are finding that the number of younger people who have been affected and infected by this is actually large. There's many more than what they had anticipated it would be. As far as little kids, I have seen reports, children having it, even infants at times. Kids are pretty, resilient. But, if they have some underlying issues themselves, any kind of respiratory issue, it's very concerning. So general guidance, again, this is the part that I took from the technical subcommittee. So these are just recommendations again. The personnel providing in-home services will continue, this part isn't. They will continue to follow all requirements of the Ohio Weatherization Assistance Program policies and procedures manual and all applicable regulations of OSHA, EPA's lead rule, the RRP, and the Ohio Department of Health. So planning with the guidance, update health and safety plans to include COVID-19 and other infectious diseases. Deferral condition with a reasonable time frame for clients that may be exhibiting symptoms or clients that are concerned for their safety. Include the allowance of additional PPE and other protective measure costs for both crew and client safety. Basic prevention measures, again, prohibit handshaking, maintain the social distancing at least 6 feet, mandate all employees' temperatures are checked prior to the start of work. On the subcommittee, I heard some of the guys talking about their agencies are having the employees do a self-check at home before they come to work. Here at COAD, our rule is that if I wake up, if I feel feverish or any of the other symptoms, then I am to call off. But if I'm feeling fine, like this morning, I came in, we have our temperature taken every morning, and where we sign in next to our name, we write down what the temperature is. The temperature, I believe, is 100.4 is the unfortunate number. If we're at 100.4, then we are sent home. Mandate that sick employees stay home, promote telephone options if possible, include routine daily disinfecting of equipment and tools being used in the field, and promote frequent hand washing with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. I just touched my face. Avoiding touching eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Tough habit to break. Documentation. So this is for the clients in the home. So how do the workers, the inspectors, the crew leaders, how do they handle this documentation? Send all preliminary documentation to clients through the mail to sign in advance to work starting. The documentation that must be signed during work process can be placed in a folder and placed on a solid surface while keeping the 6 feet of distancing. The client signs the documentation, then employees can take a picture of the documentation, leave the original, the signed copies with the client, and then you could perhaps print the picture when you get back to your office for your files. Implement changes in the field. Training and equipping all field workers with PPE and how to properly use it, remove it, and clean it to avoid contamination of self and others. Provide sanitary wipes to crews that can be used to clean surfaces in the client's home both before and after they are performing work. So they're going to need to, when they're inside the house, they're going to need to remember the rooms they were in. Again, this is just advice or suggestions rather, but they need to remember what rooms they were in, what they've touched, just kind of wipe it down before they leave. Ensure all vehicles and crew members are equipped with hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Consider prioritizing all exterior work first and then address the interior work in the client's home. Again, remember to practice social distancing. Consider postponing zone, room-to-room, and duct testing from the energy auditor or the initial inspector. It could reduce exposure time. That kind of testing can be done by the crew and the QCI. Try to reduce the number of crew and clients in the home at the same time of interior work. Consider asking clients if they would leave the home during the interior work to try to isolate them or try to isolate them to one room. This includes pets. In this era, they may be a little more cooperative. I know when it comes to lead work, things like that, it's especially with pets, it's easier said than done. Require that crews conducting interior work wear PPE, which may help assure clients who are fearful of people entering their homes. And consider offering face masks to clients or requesting clients to wear face masks to contain respiratory secretions. They're talking, and actually the last couple of weeks, it's not just sneezing and coughing. They're saying just normal breathing and talking. It doesn't fly out of our mouths and nose as far, but there's still, like my desk here, as I'm talking, if I could be contaminating this desk. Consider installing a physical barrier, such as a clear piece of plastic, to isolate a client while interior work is being conducted. This is similar to the lead work or the lead setup containment, but you don't need 6 mil plastic. If that's what you have, that's what you have. We here at COAD, we use painter's grade sometimes. But you do want something that's going to be durable also, especially if there's kids playing around. 1 driver per vehicle per day. Disinfect the driver's controls after use. And other occupants of the vehicle shall wear face masks at all times while in the vehicle. So basically, the person who jumps in the driver's seat in the morning, heads out to the job, that's the person who gets in the driver's seat on the way back. And then they can clean their area, wipe down the doors and the steering wheel. If workers arrive at a site and determine a client is exhibiting signs of COVID-19, as outlined by the ODH, allow them to defer the home for a period necessary to ensure worker safety. Again, these are suggestions. I didn't put in here, but maybe if when they get a negative result, if they get a test, if they're having a test done and they receive their negative results, that would be probably the most optimal sign. But however many days, that would be up to your individual agencies. The inventory list, respirators or just masks of some kind, preferable. OSHA would like, and CDC and ODH, N95 face masks at a minimal would be the best, but I know those things are, they're gold right now. Gloves, disposable gloves, safety glasses, or face shields. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on. I saw on the news where some of the restaurants were opening and some of the wait staff and bartenders were wearing face shields. Disposable suits, booties, paper towels, wash stations, hand soap, cleaners, client educational material, and then perhaps the clients themselves would have masks. Provide the client in advance with a letter. This will include getting a signed waiver of all liability regarding COVID-19 or coronaviruses. questions for the clients. And this is if you've been to the doctor or to a dentist even, they opened last week. These are the questions that are probably familiar to you. Has anyone in the household tested positive for COVID-19? If so, how long ago? Is anyone in your household experiencing fever, cough, shortness of breath in the last 2 weeks? Has anyone in your household been in contact with someone who has a fever, cough, or shortness of breath in the last 2 weeks? Consider using the COVID-19 self-screening tool to help determine if clients should be serviced or deferred for a period. And if the clients answer yes to questions, there is some concern that the client possibly has COVID-19. Or if the client refuses to answer the questions, you may want to defer the home. Donning and doffing PPE. This video, some of you have seen it come out of the lead world. It's pretty much identical. They'll show this guy, he uses a HEPA vac to clean himself off. You don't have to do that for this reason. If you're disturbing paint, then yeah, you should clean yourself. You're supposed to clean yourself with the HEPA vac. But if you're like an initial inspector, you choose to wear disposable Tyvek, then here's how you put it on and take it off.
The Wisconsin Department of Health Services presents Personal Protective Equipment. The purpose of this hands-on exercise is to show students how to properly don and doff personal protective equipment, as well as the steps for decontaminating and disposing of used equipment. The supplies needed are disposable coveralls, disposable non-latex gloves, disposable foot covers, eye protection, leather or canvas work gloves, P, R, or N100 respirators, disposable waste bags, duct tape, and hand washing facilities. Donning personal protective equipment. The first step is to put on a set of protective coveralls. Disposable coveralls are a good way to keep dust off of workers' street clothes and to reduce the chance of spreading dust into an employee's vehicle or home. Remember to use a HEPA vac to remove dust and debris from coveralls and all other outerwear before exiting the work area. To keep the cost down, consider buying extra large coveralls in bulk and sizing down to fit workers using duct tape. If your coveralls do not have built-in booties, your second step should be to put on boot covers.
Got no sound now, Kevin.
Step 3, you're going to want to put on your PR or N100 respirator to prevent overexposure to lead dust. Step 4, you're going to want to put on your safety glasses. Step 5, you can put on your non-latex gloves. Step 6, you're going to want to put on your leather or canvas work gloves.
Again, this is for lead work, so that's why he's putting on 2 sets of
And
gloves.
step 7, you can put on the hood of your disposable coveralls, or alternatively, you can wear a painter's hat. Head coverings are required by OSHA. You are now ready to begin work. For more information regarding the OSHA requirements for personal protective equipment, please refer to their website. Doffing personal protective equipment. After work is complete, you'll need to completely HEPA vac yourself off. Once HEPA vac'd off, you're going to want to remove your work gloves. Step 2, remove your hat or the hood if it's attached already. Step 3, remove the disposable coveralls. Remember to roll the coveralls into themselves in order to contain any lead dust. You may remove your boot covers along with your disposable coveralls if they're not already attached, and you'll need to throw this away. Then you can remove your non-latex gloves. The proper method is to remove the first glove inside out, hold it in the palm of the remaining glove, and then turn the remaining glove inside out while removing it as well. Then you can remove your safety glasses. Step 6, the last piece of personal protective equipment that should be removed is your respirator. Use hand washing facilities or wet wipes to wash your hands, face, and shoes.
That part there was mostly for the lead side of it. How he took off his mask is not for the lead. That's fine, and both for lead, asbestos, and now the COVID-19, your respirator or your mask should be the last thing to come off. I do have a series of photos here. OSHA released guidance on how to remove disposable masks because of the COVID. So this is their guidance. If you notice, this is my hand there. I have obviously the mask in my hand, but I have the straps on the outside of the back side of my fingers. When we put it up to our face, make sure it has a tight, it feels pretty tight as you put it there. The top strap goes over first, and then the bottom strap goes over. This metal part, now well, you can see it on this camera. This thing can help as far as not fogging up your glasses. If you pinch that thing down, even these ones here, these comfort masks, they got a little metal piece there. It doesn't always help. You're going to be in situations that every time you exhale, air is going to come up and possibly fog up your glasses. When that happens, that's telling you that you don't have a tight seal. So try to work with it. Try to get that tight seal. One of the members of our technical subcommittee, Larry Titus, his wife made him a mask, and he said he was having that issue. And I think he used pipe cleaners or something. They altered the mask so that he was able to pinch that down, and he said that helped. So if you have homemade masks, if you're using something like that, then there are some tricks of the trade, and that's what I'm hoping we can kick around some of that at the end of this presentation. Some helpful hints. This is OSHA's guidance as far as testing the seal, because this whole mask is a filter. The whole thing is the filter. So when you cover it up like that and you exhale a little deeper than what you normally would, you will detect if there's any air leaking, especially if you wear glasses, again, because they will fog up. And taking it off, as you may imagine, you just reverse. You take the bottom strap first, up and over, and then the top, and then dispose of accordingly. Hand washing demonstration. All right, so this is where, let me see, it may get a little tricky for me. Let's see here. All right, Cole, can you see that all right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, and you guys may have seen these, this nurse here, but there's a bunch of people. She's using paint as a demonstration of the soap. So it's blue paint, and again, it's imitating what the soap, or purple, it's imitating what the paint or the soap should do.
Soap in the palm of our hands, and then
Kevin, there's not a video on the screen.
like so.
There was just a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. I gotta see. I gotta share that, don't I? Can you see that?
No,
No.
just you.
Just me. Oh, that can't be good. Let's see here. There we go. I think I've only done this every week.
All right, there's a video there, Kevin.
All right, geez, sorry about that, guys.
Let's first put soap in the palm of our hands.
Let me just real quickly remind you that she's using purple paint to simulate the soap, how it should go on your hands.
And then begin to rub in between like so. But as you see, there is no soap on the back of my hands, so I'm going to interlace my fingers palm to palm, and then I'm going to do the same technique on the back of my hand.
Cole, could you mute, please?
And then you're going to take the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. And then start rubbing your thumbs. And then you're going to take your fingertips, clasp the fingertips in the right hand in the left palm, and vice versa. Rub your wrist one last time to make sure your hands have been completely covered in soap. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so let's see. So I have another one here. I just saw this the other day. Maybe. It's this one here. No. So I don't know if it came up or not. Let me see. You guys are still seeing this lady here.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still seeing the lady there.
Yeah. All right. Do you see this? It's
That's
a plate.
a different one with the plate. Yep.
Yeah, play with a bunch of nasty stuff on it, looks like.
Okay. Well, actually, this is pepper.
Okay.
This is from a teacher. It really, I think, blew up this weekend. And she's demonstrating with pre-K kids how to wash their hands and the importance of using soap.
Do you see that? You guys saw that? You see how important it is to wash our hands? Okay, Isa, dip your finger inside the virus water. Okay. Did the virus move at all? Did any of the pepper flakes move? No. No, right? Okay. Now, Isa, take out your finger. Do you see any virus on your finger? Any pepper on your finger? Yes. Yes. Okay. Now, we don't want the virus on our finger, right, you guys? So, Isa, can I ask you to dip your finger in soap, clean your finger? Okay. This is the importance of how we wash our hands. Now, Isa, does your finger have soap in it? Yes. Okay. Now, can you dip your finger back in the virus? How did it move? Do you see that? You guys saw that? You see how important it is to wash our hands?
All right. Jamie, and Cole, did my PowerPoint come back up?
No, you're still stuck on the video there.
Of course not. All
You
right.
pretty much got to stop share and
Yeah, that's what yeah. All right.
there's the PowerPoint.
Yeah. All right. So I think the one that last one there was, I thought was kind of neat. Showed how the pepper flakes with when you have the soap on, how things react to it. But the first one I thought was pretty good when she used the paint. It shows how thorough you should be. Don't just stand there for 20 seconds doing this. You want to get between the fingers, the back of the hands, the palms, and then even up to the wrist, almost like a surgeon. Hand washing station. This takes us back. Me and GH was talking last week. It's as simple as this. We used to have these for lead abatement. When you're in the field, sometimes you can't get to running water. They do make actual hand washing stations like this, but instead the nozzle has a handle on it, so that when you turn it on, it continuously runs. But in a pinch, this will do. Here's the soap and the paper towels. I had Dave do a couple of photos. What I really, as he's doing the soap here, so we didn't put any water in this, so it's all simulated. So at this point, his hands are wet, and he put a piece of paper towel up here on top of the cooler, so that when he goes to rinse his hands, he takes that paper towel now and he has a barrier between the plastic nozzle and his skin. So now he can run the water in order to rinse his hands off. And then he's done, dries them off. But even when you put the soap on, again, even though there's not running water, just like in the one video with the paint, get between the fingers, thorough all around. Protecting our equipment in the field. I have a picture here from Don Watts. I think the dog's optional, but he started this. He was telling me a few years ago, or maybe several years ago, wrapping putting equipment in freezer bags that can fit. And he started doing this because of the bed bug issue. And this dovetails perfectly into into this new world. Anything you take into a house, you really want to clean it thoroughly before you bring it out of there. And it can choose, and I know trips to the van, especially the inspectors, that can be a hassle going in and out of the house and such. So anything you take in, you may want to consider doing something like this. A physical barrier. This photo was taken here at COAD, and it reminded me of some of the agencies that we visit when we do our trainings. The inspectors especially, it seems like they're just crowded in. They put 3 or 4 desks in one little office or something. So just something to consider. I have a friend who owns a hair salon, and she was doing, and I actually got this idea from her. She was doing something similar to separate her stations because, as with the hair salons, barbershops, they're pretty much stuck in one area because that's where the sink is and such. So they can't move them like you could in a restaurant, moving tables and chairs. So she got clear shower liners at a dollar store, and then the shower curtain right away. You can see it there, but I thought it was pretty innovative. It's clear enough that you can see through, when somebody else is in the office. So that's basically it for my presentation. If anybody wants to unmute and share, if you have any questions, I'm not following chat right now, so if somebody else, I don't know if anybody has put anything into the chat area. Are there any questions or comments, suggestions?
Basically, there was a couple questions there, Kevin. Bobby Conrad there's got a question there about the video, mentioned Sandy wipes. Has anybody been able to find them anywhere? I guess that's a message to everybody out there, if anybody's had any luck finding them.
The sanitation wipes?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, unfortunately, there's a big run on all of that stuff. Now, if you, and I didn't put this in the presentation, but if you're lucky enough to get a hold of some, brand names like this one, other brand names, you're pretty sure has been approved by the EPA. But if you're getting like hand soap, stuff like this, maybe that's homemade. There are some places that sell soap. Where my son lives in Vermont, there's a little small business out of somebody's house where they sell liquid soap and this and that. You may want to check on the back of these. There is, and I'm not going to hold it up too high, but on the back there is an EPA registration number, and you can just literally Google that EPA registration number, and you kind of have to hunt, but if I found it, you can find it. But then there's an area there that you can type that number into, and it'll tell you if it's approved or not. If there is no number back here, then that means a rule of thumb is it hasn't been approved by the EPA, so it may not have the 60% alcohol in it like they would like.
Another question here from Kelly Feeney. She wants to know if head coverings are required for the COVID work.
No, that was part of the lead presentation. But if they're wearing the Tyvek suits, for example, like that suit that guy was putting on, I think it had a hood on it, but he chose to wear a painter's hat. But that's mostly a lead issue.
And
so remember, though, at the beginning, there was a stipulation. I've said throughout this, these are just suggestions. Well, at the very beginning, the one part is not a suggestion. It says that the crews will still follow all of the OSHA and EPA rules. So if they're disturbing paint in a pre-78 home, it doesn't matter the COVID thing. It still matters, but they're at that point, then they have to have something over their head for the RRP rule.
Another question there, Kevin. Somebody asked if using baby wipes is okay.
If it has the EP registration on the back, I think anything, if you don't have running water, the cooler, again, that igloo cooler, that's that goes back to the lead abatement days. That's probably one of the easier ways to have fresh water every day to clean their hands. But in a pinch, baby wipes, anything to get your hands clean with. And I would use probably several, a couple per hand.
Kevin, but would baby wipes be acceptable for surfaces?
Oh, for surfaces, no. You want something that it says it's disinfectant. The baby wipes to clean yourself off with is pretty good, but like this, you wouldn't want this around your eyes or any open cuts or anything. That's a good point, Ryan. You want something that says it's a disinfecting wipe. And this one I was noticing on the back, where's it at here?
They want to, don't they? Democrats do, but it ain't going to fly 3 trillion. They don't have to modify.
All right, no politics, guys.
Yeah. All right, here. Well, actually, not on the back, on the front. It talks about how it kills salmonella, cold virus, things like that. So, you're going to need something that says it's a disinfectant wipe for hard surfaces.
Yeah, and Kevin, another question here. Wanting to know about asking all the questions, health questions and stuff. Could that be considered a HIPAA violation?
I don't think so. Because if they refuse to answer, then you don't have to serve them. It's something that they know is coming. I think it was in there that was suggested that you put, you send it out in a letter, a heads up. I get asked that question, not as much now. I'm going through physical therapy. And my first couple of trips to my physical therapist, they were asking those questions. And I know it's technically medical, but it had nothing to do with my ankle, the type of questions they were asking. And it was those same questions. It's an ODH and CDC guidance.
And
it's a good question. If your agency is not comfortable with it, then, that's up to you guys.
And another question there, a person asked about using Dawn dish detergent for cleaning surfaces.
I think there's some that dish soap that says that it's good for antibacterial, and it's disinfecting. So just look at it again and make sure, if you have any questions, somewhere on that, like Dawn, that's a brand name, somewhere on that it'll have the EPA registration number, which you plug that number in to their website and the name will come up, Dawn dish soap. That means it's approved for coronaviruses.
Another question there is about mixing up bleach water in a spray bottle and using paper towels to clean equipment in trucks instead of wipes.
Sure. I'd say so. Bleach gets everything. On this page where it says questions below, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but this is the website. It's ODH's site, coronavirus.ohio.gov. And on this site, there's also an 800 number, 888, something like that you can actually call and get a live person who is, a trained scientist or whatever from the Ohio Department of Health who can answer your questions.
I don't see anything else coming in there, Kevin. So,
okay. Again, this is just advice. If there's anybody if your agencies are doing something a little different or something that you think innovative, please let us know. Here at COAD, I did want to throw out to you that when you come here for class or for any reason that you're coming here as a guest, you will have your temperature checked as you come in the door. Sign in, sign out like you always did, and you will be required to wear one of these in our common areas. We haven't got our classroom set up yet. We're still kicking around some ideas, but we are going to be limiting the number, what we always have for most of our classes, the number of students, but in some cases they're going to be even smaller. Our prop house and such, they're real tight spaces. So these things in our hallways and the break area, the bathrooms, and quite possibly in our prop house demonstrating worst case draft or whatever, you will be required to wear this. And if a student or a guest chooses not to, they don't want to wear this, then they are going to be asked to leave. The temperature, when we're measuring temperature, the magic number is 100.4. So if we zap your forehead and it says 99, that doesn't mean we're going to chase you out. Okay, it's not till you get to over 100.
Yeah, most of the places we'll go to they're not.
Hey, Kevin.
Now, on the flip side, when we come to your places, we will obviously follow your guys' rules. Okay, I mean, we always have, but the new normal, and probably what we're doing here is probably pretty similar to what your agencies are doing.
Hey, Kevin, when you talked about having the client sign paperwork, You said that we could take a picture of it and take that back. Is the state okay with that?
That came from the technical subcommittee. That was part of their guidance. So the state itself, I don't know. You'd have to run that by your monitor. I'm assuming that would be Patrick Stewart question.
Kevin, could you explain
The
that?
feds also just sent out guidance.
What's acceptable at what range, and then when it becomes a grave concern?
Well, here, and it's ODH's guidance is at 100.4. 100.4 is when we would ask a student to not, or a guest to not come further into the building. They'd have to leave. So like this morning when I took my temperature, it said 99 even, 99 degrees even. So I'm here. I didn't have to leave. Anybody else?
Hey, Kevin, this is Mark.
I lost you,
Mark
man.
Evans from P. Daniel. How you doing?
Okay.
How
you doing,
question
Mark?
I got for you is, when you go into a house that day, you start doing the work and you talk to the client, look, tell her or him that you cannot have people in your house while we do this work. And they understand that, but later on, like in the afternoon, people in the
You're cutting out on me, Mark.
house. What kind of
Mark, you're
advice
cutting
would
in and out on me.
you give the preserve basically?
Anybody else make that out?
No.
Okay. Let me go back. I'll try to fill in the blanks. I'm running on a huge assumption here. He cut out quite a bit, so I hope I answer his question.
Can you hear me now?
Again, this is a suggestion. Having people leave the house is not always easy. I know a lot of these people are very wary of folks. You know, they're especially the seniors. You know, they've been cheated and this and that throughout their lives, like a lot of us have. So they don't trust people that they don't know be in their house. So they may not leave. They may not want to leave. At that point, you know, your agency could say, well, then, you know, we need you to wear, and you could provide it if it's in your budget. You know, we need you to wear this as a minimum. You could set up that clear plastic, like painter's grade plastic, 2 mil or less, to separate them in a room or several rooms, or you can just, you know, isolate yourself in a room with that plastic. And if they're fine with that, again, your agency's policies could vary. That if they refuse to wear that, then you can defer the house. Again, that'll be up to you guys. I hope that's what you were getting at. Because and also, you know, where are they going to go? GH years ago did a grant that they had a little money that they could send the family, you know, give them a few bucks to go catch a matinee or something. Well, that's not an option anymore, just to get them out of the house. So going somewhere may not be an option for them. Are we still
One
on?
thing, we've had several questions come in here about making this available here for people to watch later and everything. I know that's something we're definitely going to try to do there. I know that's Terry answered something there earlier ago about getting it sent out to everybody, but we will try to get it up.
I should have put on here, and I think you guys know that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, and the information that I'm relaying was collected by a group, the technical subcommittee, who none of them are doctors or scientists, and the information that we're going on is right now. A week from now, a month from now, there may be some kind of breakthrough that some of this stuff, the guidance could change. But this is, you know, what's going on right now is what we just went through. And Terry, she'd be able to answer better as far as our YouTube page, putting it there. we're going to implement some of this into our classes, like the BWT class, and either initial inspector or introduction to inspection.
Another question here comes from Dean there. He wants to know if the N95 masks are single use or can they be reused?
Well, here's that pesky record button I see. I got to tell you what OSHA and the others say. It's supposed to be a single use, 1 day use.